Hello again, my fellow Americans. Immunity equaling criminality is hilariously denied. Yoho knows. Dinner with Pence. Scriptural hunger. Universal Trumpcare. Freedom from information. And an army of trolls in today's Trump Damage Report for March 31st, 2017. Buckle up, cupcakes. Salon reports that in September of 2016, the traitor Flynn said, "When you are given immunity, that means you probably committed a crime." Yesterday, the traitor Flynn asked the Senate Intelligence Committee for immunity in exchange for testimony. We can presume to take Mr. Flynn at his word, and would very much like to know what crime it was that he committed. We have some ideas. CNBC reports that a few hours ago, the Senate Intelligence Committee has rejected the traitor Flynn's request for immunity in exchange for testimony in their ongoing investigation into ties between Trump and Russia. The committee can still subpoena the traitor Flynn to testify before them, and the important takeaway is that they likely have enough information on hand already, unearthed, that they simply do not need his testimony to implicate those involved. Trump's vice president, who is totally not a sexually repressed submissive deviant, Mike Pence, was subject to haranguing on Twitter these past 24 hours for a comment in a story that revealed he does not dine alone with women or attend events where alcohol is being served, unless his wife is present. An employment lawyer weighs in on the matter in a Vox piece, opining that doing so may be illegal, in that it prevents female employees of the administration from having equal access to possible advancement opportunities. A new poll by McClatchy shows that now 1 in 3 American voters grade Trump with an F. Trump's approval numbers continue to steadily decline, shedding percentage points every time the wispy-haired demagogue opens his pursed lips. A Trumpist Republican, Representative Jody Arrington from Texas, of course, cited today a biblical reference to justify brutal changes to the food stamp program, responsible for feeding the hungry poor of America. He quoted 2 Thessalonians 3:10, saying, "If a man will not work, he shall not eat." Arrington, in classic Republican style, missed reading the rest of the book, which contains the scripture of Matthew 25:35, which says, "For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you took me in. I was naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you cared for me. I was in prison, and you visited me." No word on whether or not Arrington is aware that the founder of his religion was an unemployed carpenter. Conservative commentator Charles Krauthammer is pushing Trump towards working with Democrats on implementing single-payer health care. Yes, you heard that right. Krauthammer has penned an op-ed in the Washington Post in which he lays out in clear terms what he calls, quote, "the road to single-payer health care," end quote, and the glaring common sense it would make for Trump to get that done. This feat would win Trump much-needed political capital and some grace time if he pulls it off. Paul Ryan said unequivocally that he does not want to work with Democrats on health care, and that he is worried about pushing Trump towards working with Democrats to get the job done. Spicy Boy told the press briefing today that Trump is quite serious about working with the Democrats on health care reform, after the Republican plans failed to make it to a vote. We'll see where this intra-party civil war goes. The Obama administration crafted a list of secret Russia probe documents in order to protect them from potential future efforts at destroying them or subsuming them. NBC News reports that senior members of the Senate Intelligence Committee received the serial numbers for the list of documents, which was hand-delivered. The goal was to make it tougher to bury the information, and it seems to have worked, as the Senate Intelligence Committee is running circles around its crazier, more chaotic counterpart in the House. A judge has approved a $25 million settlement for victims of the Trump University scam that Donald Trump ran. The victims are expected to get roughly 80 to 90% of what they paid the orange-haired cretin for a slipshod education in how to business like the gilded, wheeling and dealing, cheating Russian puppet. Representative Ted Yoho, a Trumpist congressman from Florida, accidentally let slip who it is that House Intelligence Committee Chairman Devin Nunes works for. In an interview with MSNBC's anchor Craig Melvin, Melvin asked, quote, "Are you concerned at all that he was viewing what he said was classified information at the White House and then reported it back to the White House?" End quote. To which Yoho responded, quote, "You gotta keep in mind who he works for. He works for the president and answers to the president." End quote. In our system of government, Congress critters do not work for the executive branch. They work for the voters and are part of the legislative branch. Yo-ho, yo-ho, a Trumpist chill for ye. UN human rights investigators are deeply concerned about some startling developments. Legislative trends against free speech. The proposed laws restricting freedom of expression, as Reuters reports, triggered the increased attention by the international watchdogs. Peaceful assembly and expression are both considered directly under threat, and concerns have increased about restricting the right to protest. The country in question that the human rights investigators are expressing increasing concern over is not a third world nation, but rather the United States of America, under Trump. How does the Trump administration respond to demands for information about what it's doing? ProPublica explains that it simply doesn't. To requests for information from lawmakers, Trump's administration offers the cold shoulder with little to no explanation. The administration's answers on cabinet appointees' ties to the Bank of Cyprus? Crickets. Details on Jared Kushner's conflicts of interest? The sound of silence. The Independent covers the revelation that Russia hired more than 1,000 people to craft anti-Clinton fake news stories for sharing in key swing states in the U.S. election. The concerted effort by the Kremlin to disseminate massive disinformation is unprecedented in America. This tactic has previously been employed by Russia against European states that it has targeted. But 2016 marks the first major act of cyber and information warfare of Russia against us. And it's time for an update on the taxpayer cost for Trump's lifestyle as to date. As of today, March 31st, 2017, $93,671,428.28. That's all for the Friday report this week, we hope. Like us and make sure that you get the next Trump damage report in your feed. Share with your friends who ought to know what Trump is up to. And if you've enjoyed this report, hit like and share. Above all, and as always, stay vigilant.